are we supposed to start the podcast?
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Patriots, gay-triots, they-triots. It's Big Pumps in the big city. We are in New York City. We have a very special guest. We're meeting here later.
Fun guest.
Very fun, very important.
Yes.
Very important.
Which almost pseudo makes us important.
Kinda.
A little bit.
Kinda.
Important adjacent.
We are important adjacent.
Yeah.
All right, Pumps, what have you had it with?
Okay, what I've had it with, and it's twofold.
Okay.
It's mostly at myself.
Okay.
But my overall had it is, I've had it with the cutest shoes being uncomfortable. And then I've had it with myself for continuing to buy the uncomfortable shoes, knowing that I'll wear them for about an hour and just be like, I can't do it. I can't do it. So it's like this never ending, you want your shoes to be cute, but if they're comfortable, they're just awful. They look like corrective shoes. If they're cute, you can't wear them because at my advanced age, everything on your body hurts after about an hour. So I've had it with the whole thing. I think I'm just going to go to my house shoes, back to my house shoes and flip-flops 24/7.
Did I have ever told you that my mother thought I was pigeon-toed when I was a child and I had to wear corrective shoes briefly? And then she enrolled me in ballet because she thought it would turn my feet out. Yeah.
I did not know you were a corrective shoe wearer.
I wore corrective shoes. Well, I asked my mom, I think it's maybe a year, but I remember they were so ugly. They weren't very cute, but my mother is very vain.
Right.
Know?
So that was hard on her.
Yeah. And I don't really think I was like pigeon-toed. I bet they just went in slightly. We need to talk to Linda.
We need to get to the bottom of that. But here's the thing. Aren't you glad she did it when you were younger and you didn't have to correct it as an adult?
Yes.
So thank you, Linda, at the end of the day.
Yes, definitely. But no, I'm with you on the shoes. I see these fantastic shoes and I'm like, God, I love those. Those are going to look great. Put them on. 45 minutes later, I am miserable. And listen up, kids. As you get older, gravity is not kind to your feet.
No.
And I mean, and Pumps can report from like the future. And she's saying
near death, it's even worse.
Near death, yeah, exactly. All right, let me tell you what I've had it with. And I love the person I'm about to throw under the bus, but I have to. It's been building and building and building, and I just have to get it out.
Okay, what? Who?
So at the office, listener, downstairs is my interior design business. Upstairs is the podcast studio. And so girl that works for my interior design business oftentimes brings her lunch to work and heats it up in the work microwave. And several times it's been fish.
Oh, and she's perfect in all other regards.
I've had it with people using a shared microwave to heat up food that stinks.
Yeah,
There's nothing you can do about it. It permeates. It's awful. The secondhand smell, if you're not the eater of that food, if you're not the consumer of that food, is so horrible. So the other day she did it, and I had been out of the office for a tennis lesson, of course, on my lunch hour. And then I walked back in. I'm like still gasping for air. My heart rate's still high. I'm kind of behind the 8 ball, running a little late, getting back to the office. And I walk in, and it is the worst rotten fish smell, smacks me in the face. And I am dying, D-Y-I-N-G. So I light a candle and I put it right under my nose on the desk as I'm typing. Couldn't even penetrate this fish smell.
Really?
So I got up and I opened up the front door and I put a plant to keep it open. And I opened up the back door so we could get flow going in and out. And I turned on the fan on the HVAC. And I mean, it took about an hour and a half before I didn't smell this overtly heinous fish smell. But I do not think that should be allowed.
I agree.
I don't think that's right. And I said, who heat up the fish? She said, I did. And I was like, Adriana, it's a good thing you don't listen to my podcast because this is going right to the top of my grievances. She just kind of laughed and goes on, with her business as only Adriana would do. But It was horrific.
I have friends that have worked in really big companies before, and there is a mandate that you cannot cook fish in the microwave because it permeates the whole office. And at first they thought it was like, oh, that's kind of rude, da-da-da. And then somebody broke the rule and everybody agreed. It's one of those social contract situations. If we're all going to eat here, if we're all going to work here, if we're all going to share the same space, you cannot put fish in the microwave.
No,
you just can't.
You cannot do it. It is not acceptable. It's you're not taking into account the senses of your coworkers. Right. There's a lack of self-awareness about it. And I like fish. I eat fish. You're not a big fish eater, but I am. But after that, I thought I'm not going to be able to eat fish for a while.
Right, because it was so traumatic.
The smell was just awful. And so, listener, do not heat up stinky food in your shared microwave. Take into account the senses of your coworkers, even those that you hate, because you wouldn't wish this on your worst enemy.
This might be a good idea. We could give our next guest on what he should do to torture his colleagues.
Oh, that might be good.
That's a good idea.
That might be a great idea. Okay, welcome to I've Had It. I'm Jennifer.
I'm Angie.
She's the star of the show. She's big tits in the big city.
Yeah, I mean, I look 100 in this life. I mean, like literally I sat down and I said, I look 550 years old. Then I looked down just now and I have my boobs hanging out. The dragons are trying to get out. And I thought there is just nothing grosser than a 500-year-old woman trying to show their boobs off. It's gross.
What did I say when I sat down right next to you?
How pretty I am?
No, do you remember? You said, oh my God, I look 500 years old.
Oh, yes. And she immediately says, oh, I feel like I look tons younger than you on this. And I was just like, well, that's just right on brand.
Listener, there's just certain things when you have a really good asshole buddy that you can just give each other shit for forever. And that's just one of the things, because I will always be younger than you.
Right.
Like there's nothing you can do about it. I have you so checkmated on that.
I mean, there's nothing I can do about it unless I wanted to become MAGA, and then I would just lie about my age and gaslight you. And just say I wasn't.
I have a copy of your passport and your driver's license.
Yeah, that wouldn't work.
You're fucked. All right, listen. We have a story to share with everybody. So, we are thinking about ways that we can better mitigate interactions and horrible interactions with people in the public. And yesterday, I would say, was a masterclass for your two co-hosts of this heaping pile of dog shit podcast called I've Had It. So we have to get up and catch the early bird flight. Meemaw comes and picks me up at my house, 5:50, 6 a.m. We're going to fly from Oklahoma City to LaGuardia. We head to Will Rogers World Airport in Oklahoma City.
International now.
Oh, pardon me. Will Rogers International Airport in Oklahoma City for our 7 a.m. direct flight to LaGuardia. We're meeting a couple of friends at the airport that are also coming here with us. And we make it right on time, sit down. And Pumps, of course, I look over and she's knee deep in conversation with a stranger pretty quickly.
Not on my own volition. It was like, where you live, blah, blah. I mean, the questions, it was just rapid fire immediately.
At first, I thought maybe she is a yak mouth magnet, but then I also fell prey.
Right.
And
we
then
all did.
I noticed that everybody else fell prey to this particular yak mouth. And it was unrelenting.
Wow.
It was, he would ask you a question and then you would start to answer it. And then he would speak over you while you were giving him an answer to the question he asked you.
Right.
Really, really annoying. So then we're waiting to board. Shout out to the guy that works for American Airlines that was working gate number 1 on this morning. You were amazing. So he says, we're delayed because the flight attendant's iPad is not working. And so the manual, she doesn't have it digitally, and we're trying to get her logged back into her iPad. And this goes on for about an hour. And one of our friends is like, I'll give my iPad. I'll volunteer my iPad to American Airlines. I'll volunteer my iPad to American Airlines, and I will buy a new one when I get to New York. Anything to just get this bird in the air because it's starting to dump snow.
Right.
So we're getting paranoid. So then he says, well, they can't get her iPad to work, so we have to go to the basement and print the 1,000-page manual for the flight attendant to have on the flight. Several observations here. Number one, who is going to look through a 1,000-page manual on a flight if it's going down? Like, who's doing that?
Nobody's doing that. That made absolutely no fucking sense. Okay, the flight's going down. We're getting ready to crash. Here, let me page through my notes so I can tell you what to do. It's like nobody. Nobody's going to do that.
And why don't you, American Airlines, just have a hard copy just in case?
Right.
Why don't we just have a hard copy in one of the bins at all times just in case?
To avoid this.
So then 45 minutes, another hour passes, and then a flight attendant walks by or some worker for American Airlines walks by with literally a 12-inch stack of papers. They give it to the darling gate agent. We love you. They take it down. They put it on the plane. We start to push back from the gate. Captain gets on the flight and says, we're having a computer issue now, and I've tried to reset it. It doesn't work. I have to go back. We have to take you guys back to the gate, deplane you. And then we will hopefully be able to take off if the weather doesn't get worse. So we get off the plane. And I digress here a little bit because the yak mouth.
That's what I was going to say. Don't forget the best part of the story.
The aforementioned yak mouth is seated right across the aisle from me. Pumps was 2 rows behind us. I was furious that I got stuck with that hickey.
Right.
And so I'm, trying to manage that. And this was a person that you could have your ear pod in. And I made a very dramatic, tucked my hair behind my ear. And I was like, I'm sorry. What did you just say?
No, it didn't matter.
Didn't matter.
No, did not matter. I mean, there were several times that when we were standing in the terminal, I would completely put my back to him where he could only see the back side, and he just kept going in. And I was just like, where is your ability to address social cues?
Let me tell you something, you guys. If Pumps, the biggest stray cat feeder in the United States of America, is turning your back on you, the yak mouth is
bad.
It's not savable.
No, you cannot crawl your way back.
No. So anyway, long story short about all this flight stuff. Then we get back on the flight. The flight attendant is bawling, crying. She is beside herself. She is literally in tears. And I give her a hug and I'm like, I'm sorry, people are just being mean to me. So apparently one of the passengers got on, told her she thought it was her fault that her iPad didn't work.
Right. She was mad at the flight attendant.
Right. Because her iPad that's owned by American Airlines didn't work. She called her stupid.
She called her a bitch too.
And a bitch. So she's in tears. And so here's what we did. You would think, the hosts of this podcast, that we would have been maniacs. You would think that Karen would have had a resting heart rate of about 300.
Right.
None of this happened.
Right.
New year.
New us.
Now, the yak mouth passenger, the only way, we were never rude to him, was just to try to avoid eye contact and do all of your body language as best you could, as far away from him. And he was still able to penetrate it, but we were never rude to him.
Every body language signal was saying stop. Every answer was saying stop.
If I saw him again, I might just go back home.
Right. Just go home and say, I'll do it
tomorrow.
Let's just move this to tomorrow.
Yeah, because that was a lot. He was a very active, persistent, relentless yak mouth. I'd never seen anything like it.
Right. I mean, it's been a long time since I've seen one to that level.
It was an incredible level of interrogations. Right. Towards us. It was really intense. It was super intense. And it never stopped. I know more about this individual.
I know he's over 70 because I know his exact age. And I know who he grew up with in high school. I knew what his dad did. I knew where he went to college.
Yeah.
I knew where he worked.
I knew where he went to law school.
I know all of it. Everything there is to know about this man. I know it.
His work schedule.
His 100% work schedule, travel schedule.
Yep.
All of
Address. Yeah, it was a very sustained attack. I almost felt like somebody's fucking with us. They've listened to the podcast. Yeah. And
I kind of thought that too.
They know what annoys us. And this is a plant. Somebody is doing
testing us.
Yeah, this is a test. But here's the deal. You were really good the other day. I was really
so
proud
good
of you. You were nice. That flight attendant, she couldn't have taken it if you would have even been remotely caring towards her.
No, I was super sweet to her.
Unraveled. And I was really, really proud of you that you were just a normal, even fucking person. Did you keep your bra on?
I kept my bra on the whole time, yeah.
See, this is growth.
Yeah. I only really take it off on super long flights.
All right, listen up. We have a fantastic guest today. We are gravely concerned about January 20th. Plus, and we vacillate from like, are we going to die to we're going to be fine?
We're going to be arrested.
Yeah, are we going to be arrested? Are we still going to have the First Amendment?
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, everybody knows we love politics, and this is a congressman that I have loved forever because he says what's on his mind. He has conviction, he has principles, and he fights the good fight. So let's welcome to I've Had It in New York City, Congressman Eric Swalwell. This episode of I've Had It is brought to you by Wild Grain. Listener, Pumps and I are bananas about Wild Grain. First of all, we both love bread and pastries, and it is the first Bake from Frozen subscription box for artisanal breads, pastries, and pastas.
I'll tell you what, the chocolate chip cookies did not last an evening at my house. They are so delicious. The croissant rolls were the family favorite. Everything we've had from Wild Grains, it's easy and delicious.
All of their boxes are fully customizable to your tastes and dietary restrictions. In addition to their classic variety box, they recently launched a new gluten-free box and a plant-based box that is 100% vegan. Listener, are you ready to bring all your favorite carbs right to your doorstep? Be sure to check out Wild Grain so you can begin building your own box of artisanal breads, pastas, and pastries. For a limited time, Wild Grain is offering our listeners $30 off the first box, plus free croissants in every box when you go to wildgrain.com/hadit to start your subscription. You heard me, free croissants in every box, and $30 off your first box when you go to wildgrain.com/hadit. Again, that's wildgrain.com/hadit. Or you can use the promo code HADIT at checkout. You know, Pumps, with a new year, it's kind of a fun time to reimagine yourself, and you can kind of reimagine your wardrobe. However, it can be cost prohibitive. That's why I think everybody needs to shop on Quince. I personally have their cozy Mongolian cashmere sweaters. They are amazing, soft, stylish, and very me, and they start at just $50.
I love Quince sheets and leggings. The new leggings I got from them are fantastic.
However you choose to refresh your look this year, all Quince pieces are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. They're able to do that by partnering directly with top factories, cutting out the cost of the middleman, and passing the savings on to you. Listener, upgrade your closet this year without the upgraded price tag. Go to quince.com/hadit for 365-day returns plus free shipping on your order. That's QUINCE.com/hadit to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/hadit. Listener, this may come as a total shock to you, but Pumps and I have not always been this pulled together and rock solid. In fact, we used to be rather screwed up, wouldn't you say, Pumps?
I would say damn near psychotic.
Totally. And we have written a cell phone expose. One could even say it's a manifesto. And the book title is
Life is a Lazy Susan of Shit Sandwiches.
In all sincerity, we share a lot of our struggles that led us to this grand stage where we can talk about petty grievances. You can click the link below in the show notes to pre-order your copy now. Okay, welcome, Congressman Eric Swalwell.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yes, thank you so much. We're in New York City, everybody. We're so excited. I was looking at your Twitter.
Yes.
And there was a tweet that I found concerning, and I want to see what you have to say about it. It was tweeted November 10th, 2024 by Rep. Swalwell, verified account, and it says, night at OKC Thunder. How dare you?
It was, and I like to say no KC sometimes.
I like that.
Ooh,
But
you
they-
can't like that.
Well, no, but I like it's a good slang. Like we can turn it
it's a
into
good
a
troll.
chant.
Yeah, but they've had our number. We started 12-2. We're like now 19-18. I think we had a win last night. But yeah, you guys are looking good. We are out for revenge, though.
Here's what I have to say about, like, you live in California. You represent the state of California. You've got the ocean. You've got mountains. You have all this cool stuff. You have multiple sports teams.
Yeah. I know.
Why are you so greedy? Right. Like, we're living in a MAGA hellscape, and this basketball team is everything to us. And then I get on Twitter, and I have to see that bullshit, Congressman.
Everything's like, there's everything's off limits. Nothing's off limits when it comes to sports. Right?
I agree.
That's true.
I totally agree.
So night.
Night.
I want to talk to you, though.
See you in the playoffs.
Oh, well, you're going down. I want to talk to you about your work environment and your coworkers. Because I've had it with a lot of them, particularly the Freedom Caucus. What can you tell me about the Freedom Caucus?
Yeah, I mean, they don't really want much freedom for you and your body.
That's right.
They don't want much freedom for, like, what books your kids can read at school. They don't want you to have much healthcare freedom. It's really their interpretation of, like, what they want to do with you, your body, your kids, like in the bedroom, right? So all the places that are personal to you and you don't want government, they want to be in there. And the places where you need help, like cost of groceries, cost of gas, taking on, like, corporate greed, they're nowhere to be found. Right. So I would say they're in all the wrong places.
So
I agree with that.
Let's, like, role play. Like, you are in the Congress and you get in an elevator and there is Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yeah, she wants to kill me.
She does.
Really?
And Lauren Boebert.
Yeah.
She
wants to talk.
Is there any friend? Okay, let's get.
She wants to do a little Beetlejuice on you.
Give us the tea with MGT. I want all that scoop.
So it's pro wrestling where I work.
Okay.
So I work with pro wrestlers.
Okay.
And so they will hit me over the head with a steel chair in the ring. So in a committee hearing, in a House floor speech. And then when I get in the elevator with Ted Cruz or Jim Jordan, Matt Gaetz, Boebert, they want to bro out. And and it's to them, I've come to realize, they're just like, hey, like, cameras aren't on. Like, we're all cool. We're just doing what the fans want. Like, we can talk, right? Marjorie Taylor Greene, credit to her. She wants to fucking kill me. She would want to go to blows if she saw me in the elevator. So, like, she actually believes the crazy, and I respect that because I think the others see themselves as performers. And so who they think they're performing for, the quote unquote fans, I happen to call, like, constituents, like the people that we represent. So
your boss.
Once you can figure that out, I think you can be effective. And it took me a long time because I was very righteous, I think, in Trump 1. And I kind of divided the Congress. Like, you were either, with Trump, I didn't want anything to do with you, or you were against him and I was with you. And I think I get that. And that's one way to take it. But now I've just kind of priced in, you know what? Like, they're just performing. This isn't even what they believe. And so, like, if I need to get things done for my constituents, like, they can do their crazy shit in the ring.
Right.
But I will try and work with those who I can work with if I can get things done. So it's not a great environment to be around people like that. But, like, my job title is representative. And so I've got to get things done. And so, but once you can figure out who's a pro wrestler and who really believes in the crazy, I think you can start to sort your way through.
That's what's always amazed me is, are these people so insane that they believe this horseshit they're
Some of them
spewing?
are.
But what I'm wondering is when you're trying to do legislation, if it's not something that the Trump administration wants, or Mike Johnson.
Or Elon Musk.
More importantly, Elon Musk. These people do not have the backbone for their constituents to vote for it anyway.
That's right.
Do you think that will change in Trump 2.0?
No. So what worries me, I was in the House gym at the end of December. So there's this gym 3 floors below the Capitol. It's members only. It's like Vegas rules. Like, what happens in the gym stays in the gym. Like, substantive conversations never leave the gym. And it's good. Like, you want to
place. So tell us what everybody says about the gym.
I'm not going to tell you who.
Okay.
But there's 3 TVs also in the gym.
Okay.
And you've got CNN, Fox, and then, like, ESPN.
Okay.
And so those 3 TVs are on. You've got treadmills, weights. And I was in there, and we had a deal that Republicans agreed to keep government open, fund some priorities like, cancer research for kids. And there's this, like, breaking news chyron from CNN that Elon Musk is tweeting against the deal. And a couple Republicans in the gym are looking at their phones, and they're like, fuck, like, no, like, God And it was just like, no, and I told one of them, I said, if you go along with this, you let him tank this, like he's going to own you for the next 2 years. And you're going to have to sit around and wait to see what he says about any major piece of legislation. And if you stand up to him now and don't let him do that, then you're going to, set the terms for the next 2 years. And of course, predictably, they completely folded.
Yeah, that's the concern.
They always like
fold.
a cheap suit, don't they?
Yeah.
Every single time. Okay.
It's fear, though. And sometimes...
Is it fear of the base?
We mistake it for like political fear. And then there's part of that. I mean, some people who I serve with, they think the only job they can get is this job, which is weird because I thought I was working with people who gave up other good jobs to do this. But I've come to realize like a lot of them think this is the only job they can get. But I've come to also learn that it's more than just fear of losing your job. It's the fear of like the Trump or Musk tweet that changes your life.
Really?
When they go after you, now you have death threats. Your spouse is saying like, why did you speak up? Like now we've got all this heat on us. Like, and the death threats don't just come for you. They come for your spouse. They go after your kids. And so life becomes very, very uncomfortable. And so for a lot of them, it's like, if I can just lay low and just go along with this, life doesn't get uncomfortable for me. And so that is a big part of this right now. And by the way, Trump and Musk, they know this. They know that when they unleash, when they send these tweets or they call out these members, that they're unleashing like, the hell and fury of Twitter death threats that'll come. And that's a real deterrent. And that's a real problem.
Yeah.
I've also had some things that I've had it with, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Tell us what you had it with.
Parent group chats.
We're all over it.
The worst.
If my kid is in a ball pit with 4 other kids for longer than 5 minutes, a new fucking group chat is created. I'm like, I don't need to be in a group chat for every organization that my kid is a part of. And they become like completely unmanageable. And it's to the point where I'm like responding into the wrong group chat and I'm volunteering for things. And people are like, I don't think your kid's like in this group chat anymore. And by the way, my wife, Brittany, she actually monitors and tracks all these group chats. But I think we have overdone it on the parent group chats. It's become too much.
I have bad news for you.
Yeah.
I have a senior in high school, one that's in college, one that's a senior in high school. And I thought for sure I would be done with all of this by then. And they continue. And I just refuse.
Yeah.
I refuse to engage. And I had a lady who got kind of riled up with me last year. And she side messaged me like, hey, you didn't respond to XYZ in the group chat about homecoming dance tickets. Yeah. And I just responded to her, this is a Roman problem. Like he's 17. At the time he was 17. Like
he's almost a man.
am not raising a titty baby. Like he needs to get his own tickets. Why am I doing this? Like I've already done all the major stuff. Right now I'm just at like, making sure he gets home on time and everything else he's kind of on his own. It gets worse. Okay. We did a whole episode. Apparently there is a college parent group meetings. I have never been a part of any of this at Syracuse. I would never, but the helicopter mothering, y'all should see if you could do something about this in Congress.
Yes.
Right.
Ban them.
Yes.
Group chats banned.
Yes, group chats. Okay. I want to talk a little bit about the Speaker of the House.
Yeah.
And there's a video where he says on camera that the Lord was speaking to him and kept waking him up every night and saying, okay, we're going to figure out who Moses is. And it's not McCarthy anymore. And maybe it's going to be Scalise. And the Lord woke me up again. And and he says this like on camera. I've watched the video multiple times because I cannot believe that nobody is sending him to a mental institution after watching it. Yeah. But then he ultimately says that the Lord told him that he was in fact Moses. And I just have a fundamental problem that we're all sitting around in this country and you've got the president, the vice president, and then Moses Mike, who has fireside chats every night with the Lord, where the Lord tells him, listen up, buddy, you're Moses. And we're all sitting around. We just took the subway here. I'm riding on the subway. We're all acting like this is normal, that the Speaker of the House is insane. Yeah. Like this is insane behavior. It's magical thinking. And if somebody on the subway was sitting there saying this, I wouldn't think anything of it. Yeah. This guy's the Speaker of the House, and it bothers me so much that we all just act like he's a normal person, and he is a fanatic, and I think possibly like crazy that he's hearing all these voices in his head.
Delusional.
It's not the Christianity that I believe in, by the way. Second, like, I would love to have God waking me up every night. I have a 6-year-old that does that 3 or 4 times a night and tries to come into our bed. So I would love to get like a message from God telling me I'm the leader now of the world. But what really concerns me, though, is this push, and I say this as a Christian, this push toward Christian nationalism, and that's the only religion that's acceptable in our country, and you know, to the exclusion of non-theists, who are very important, to the exclusion of, you know, Jewish people, Muslims, like that part really concerns me. I joined the Free Thought Caucus. So this is a caucus of non-theists. As I said, I'm a Christian, but I do believe a lot of their concerns about what is going to happen. And this is led by Jared Huffman, who, by the way, I think is really interesting on this topic. But there is this real concern about like this radical fundamentalist approach that is starting to like really creep into our politics and our governance, and then again into your bedrooms in your kids' classrooms, and that's really concerning. And yes, it just sounds weird.
Well, we live in this.
Yeah, we live
So they're already trying, even during Biden's term, they've already started trying all of these hardcore right, Project 2025, Heritage Foundation stuff in red states. You know, they're trying them out in Texas and Oklahoma. And we have now the superintendent who's mandated that the Bible be taught as a historical document in all public schools, 10 commandments be on the walls. Women have lost the right to abortions. OBGYNs are fleeing the state. Right. And you see, like, if you look at the states that are doing this, we're ranked 49th or 50th in education. So these MAGA policies have always failed. The trickle-down economics is the biggest myth. And it's so difficult to see, like, this start to become mainstream. I knew in, like, deep Bible belt states that this was happening, but you're starting to see it kind of get mainstreamed where people think this should be okay. And I hope that the Democrats have a plan to really fight for secularism, because that really is one of the founding principles, is that we have a secular government. In the 1950s is when all of this got injected, and it's really troubling because, you know, there's a saying in the Bible Belt for those of us that aren't Bible thumpers, and it is, there is no hate, there is no love like Christian hate. And it's true, because there's a real cruelty to, there's a punitive nature of the laws that they want to make. And it's about taking rights away from people or judging gay people and getting into people's bedrooms. Okay, but let's move on from that. I want to
Can I ask one quick question? Okay, on the Mike Johnson thing, this is what fascinates me more than anything. Here he is, he holds his Bible every minute. God told him he was Moses. He and his wife have a covenant marriage. Yet
that weird app.
Oh my gosh, the porn app.
Covenant Eyes.
Yeah.
We just think that's the weirdest. But so do you think he has a recognition of his hypocrisy when he supports a candidate like Donald Trump, where he does everything he wants against poor people, against women, that Donald Trump himself is the most immoral, unethical person on planet Earth? Do you think he recognizes it, or is he just so full of shit he doesn't even know it?
I think he's so brainwashed, and they've convinced himself that he's David, that Trump is David, that he's the imperfect vessel that God has sent to do this. That's what I hear. I mean, they will.
So he believes it.
Yes, he believes it, and many others believe it. And as Democrats, I think we have to stop using like in a court of law, and when I was a prosecutor, and I know you're a lawyer, like it matters to like impeach somebody's credibility with like a prior inconsistent statement. And like Democrats, I think, are very good at like, aha, we got you. Like you are a Christian and you're supporting somebody who's very un-Christian-like. But like to Republicans, they don't give a shit about being inconsistent. They just have a goal of what they want to do. Tell your school, your kids' teachers what they're going to teach and what books are going to be in the classroom. And they just zero in on it. And they're very, I would say, adept at messaging on it. And they just plow through. And we sometimes, I think, get so caught up in like taking a scholarly Harvard moot court competition approach to this, and it makes us less effective. And so what I've tried to do on like messaging, especially with our younger, newer members, is to try and, have us, as Hakeem Jeffries would say, govern in headlines and not in fine print. if that makes sense going forward.
That does make sense.
Yeah, that makes great sense. All right, let's move on to First Lady Elon Musk.
Yes.
Okay. Or co-president or president. Maybe Trump is First Lady, however you want to do it.
Trump's the press secretary. Yeah.
That's a great,
I see it. Musk is the muscle and Trump is the mouthpiece.
Yeah,
That's
I
exactly
agree with
right.
that. So, okay, Doge. Is this going to have congressional oversight? Like, what?
We should root for government efficiency. Like,
Right.
I also think it's interesting that the Department of Government Efficiency has two people who are in charge of it. Like it's almost like starting off like in an inefficient way. But like I'm rooting for their success, especially I'll just say in my district, 40% of my constituents were born outside the United States.
Okay.
And we are one of the top 10 wealthiest districts in the country. So there's a straight line between people who immigrated here and started businesses or like created like this really strong economy, and they deal, and some of the most skilled immigrants are dealing with, you know, the biggest backlogs and inefficiencies. So if they're going to go after inefficiencies on immigration to get, you know, the best and to get rid of anyone who's committing violent crimes, great. If they're going to go after inefficiencies, you know, in healthcare and like fraud and waste and abuse, great. But I fear that their sense of inefficiencies is that you paid money into your Social Security and your Medicare, and that money should be going, you know, to billionaires.
Right.
And so we're going to cut that so that, you know, billionaires and this broliarchy can take more. So that's what I fear. But we should, as I said, like, we should approach this stuff like, yeah, guys, let's make the government more efficient before just, you know, shitting all over it. Because I do think most Americans would say government is inefficient and then wait to see what do they really go after? Does that make sense? Because I think if we just root for them to fail, then it looks like we're on the side of inefficiency.
Right. This is why you're a politician.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I want him to fail.
Yeah.
I'm petty. Like, this is why I would never run for office, because what you said about Marjorie Taylor Greene having conviction, I would be that person. Like with Moses Mike, I'd be like, hey, I'd probably like see him in the elevator and just be like, you're voting. I know women that are suffering because they don't have access to medical care because of you. Fuck you. I mean, that's how I would feel about it. So I have that kind of conviction. I couldn't just talk about him on here and then see him by like, hey, Mike, what's up? You want to, you know, Bible study it or something? I couldn't do it. And so, but here's what bothers me about Elon Musk is, number one, I don't think he's emotionally stable or psychologically stable right now. I don't think Trump is emotionally or psychologically stable. You see him, you know, he controls a huge information system, which is X. He's already trying to mess with UK politics, German politics. He's
got a lot of time on his hands.
Talked
for
to
somebody who runs a
Vladimir
rocket
Putin.
company and a car company.
Right, but has chats with Vladimir Putin.
Yeah.
When
and Iran.
Yes, and when we find out that Trump's talking to Vladimir Putin, and I don't know if I'm paranoid, but as I'm sitting here looking at all of this, you know they're all up to something.
Right.
You know Trump and Musk, these are not people of integrity and decency in the manner in which Joe Biden was. Like Joe Biden was a good man. Nobody is ever going to agree with anything that every president does, but at his core, he's a decent human being. I do not believe that about Elon Musk. I do not believe that about Donald Trump. And I think they're palling around with Putin, and I think, oh shit, we're fucked. That's what I think all the time.
So we're not fucked, but I think what we have to do is to zero in on like what you just described. Like, what does it mean to an everyday American? What I see it as is to like a small business owner, you know, to somebody, you know, who goes to work every day and thinks that hard work adds up to something, that this system that you just described means that you can buy and sell politicians if you have the money and access to do it. And anyone else who doesn't is fucked and on their own. And so this is, as I said, like kind of a on your own. It's not a free market economy. It's a free for all economy.
Right.
And free for all means that those with the most money and the most access are the ones that are going to do the best. And the guy who works pretty hard and thought that the cost of eggs was going to go down and he was going to see a bump in his paycheck, he's screwed. And so I think that's where we have to like take all that and like drill it down to like, what does it really mean to each person who's affected by this, and attack it that way, because I think that's effective. Because we were promised, and we should not discount that, you know, people said when they, you know, exited the polls that this was largely about the economy. Nobody said I want Donald Trump to make his priority Greenland. Nobody said, I want Donald Trump to make his priority renaming the Gulf of America. Nobody said, I want Donald Trump to add Canada as a 51st state. And by the way, this moron doesn't understand that Canada is the same size as California, which means they would have 54 electoral votes that would like cut against J.D. Vance in 2028. Yeah, we should welcome that. So nobody asked for any of that when they went to the polls, and that's where he's focusing. And that's why I think we have to kind of read the room, so to speak, and really say, hey, we're the ones that are actually focused on you.
Homes.com knows that when it comes to home shopping, it's never just about the house or condo. It's about the home. And what makes a home is more than just the house or property. It's the location and neighborhood. If you have kids, it's also schools, nearby parks, and transportation options. That's why Homes.com goes above and beyond to bring home shoppers the in-depth information they need to find the right home. And when I say in-depth, I'm talking deep. Each listing features comprehensive information about the neighborhood, complete with a video guide. They also have details about schools with test scores, state rankings, and student-to-teacher ratio. They even have an agent directory with the sales history of each agent. So, when it comes to finding a home, not just a house, this is everything you need to know, all in one place, Homes.com. We've done your homework. This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game, shifting a little money here, a little there, and hoping it all works out? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can be a better budgeter and potentially lower your insurance bill too. You tell Progressive what you want to pay for car insurance, and they'll help you find options within your budget. Try it today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
Women voted against their own self-interest. The working class, the middle class voted against their own self-interest to elect Trump, which brings us to the misinformation that's coming out. And you look at the hurricanes in the eastern seaboard. Now you've got the wildfires in California, and then Donald Trump and Elon Musk are pumping out disinformation as fast as they can get it. How do we – I mean, I feel like we're living in a post-fact world. They immediately, like, I thought that when they were saying Democrats controlled the weather, I thought that's so insane. Any person that heard that would immediately know that that was crazy.
Yeah. If I control the weather, by the way, I wouldn't have had 2 fucking snow days for my kids.
For Christmas, back-to-back Christmas.
Yeah. So,
but I mean, it's just so now all of these rumors. How do we stop that? What can we do about it?
Yeah. Well, first, we cannot give up on having standards for social media companies, and especially so I have a 7-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 3-year-old, and they're going to be hurtling into this very soon. Once they're exposed to social media, and so having high standards, especially for kids, I think we should start with kids because they're the future. They're going to inherit this disinformation or information forum and platforms that we have, and so. I'm all about Professor Haidt at NYU and some of the standards he wants to have on, age requirements for social media. The schools, either taking the phones or only allowing like a flip phone, for a student at a high school. I mean, I do think, really protecting our kids first is important. And then for what's out there right now, I do believe we have to look at if Facebook, if you're going to get rid of any, patrolling or any standards or guidelines around speech, well, then you should also, be on the hook for what happens on your platforms and what hate it brings and what defamation, forum or environment you create. So we should not just say that's okay and be okay with the consequences. That I'm not cool with that.
Yeah, that's a great idea. The civil lawsuits change laws. They really do.
They do. And we saw that obviously, with the oil and gas companies. We saw that with tobacco and even with firearms that they can. Yeah.
Okay, now we're going to play a game with you called Had It.
That's why I came on the show.
Had It or Hit It.
Oh my God. Welcome to Had It or Hit It.
I would hit it.
Had it.
I hit it every day, sometimes twice a day. All right, had it or hit it, Gulf of America.
Had it. And I say this because, are we going to name New Mexico New America? Like, It's absurd. But I will say, as Democrats, we should just say, you know what, that's great, Donald, that you want to go rename all this stuff. But what are you doing about the cost of eggs?
Agree.
That's where, just don't, because he is so insecure about his own ability to actually deliver on what he promised. That's why he's doing this nonsense.
I agree. I agree with that. And I also think there's a grift opportunity for him.
Right.
Because, he basically has a flea market now, an online flea market where he's a member. And we have to remember, he ran because he said, look, I'm rich. In 2016, I'm a billionaire.
That's right.
Nobody can buy or own me because I'm so rich. And now he is the most bought and paid for man this world has ever seen, which is so weak.
That's right.
Okay. Had it or hit it, Republican parents.
Had it. Let me just tell you, when I send my kids to school, I don't want to pick the fucking curriculum. I don't want to be anywhere near it. I was not trained in this. I don't know anything. I can help my kids with their homework, but like the day-to-day curricula that like our kids are learning, why do I want to be involved in something else? And I want my kids to be at school with parents who are also busy, and this is not like their lives. So like I've had it with like parents who want to horn their way into the classrooms and tell our teachers what to teach. Like I wish I had that much time on my hands also, by the way, to do that. I don't, because I'm trying to do shit, and I wish, Republican parents in some of these states also had other things to do.
Follow-up question. Yeah. Are your parents Republican?
My parents are Republican.
So are mine.
Yeah.
So are mine. It's bad.
And the only way, I have to go on Fox News, otherwise they won't see me on TV.
Right.
Are they MAGA?
I think they voted for Trump. They claim they didn't this time. My mom also got to the point where she would say when Tucker Carlson or Sean Hannity would start to like shit talk me, she's like, honey, I don't like when they do that. So I change the channel usually, and then I'll turn back a couple minutes later. So I'm like, thanks, Mom. That's really, that's really sweet of you.
Are they proud of you?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm very close to my parents.
Okay.
And we just have like a no hat rule now at like Thanksgiving.
You know what's funny?
What
she and I have noticed. So a lot of these Republican parents are like,
Yeah.
I want my kids to receive the best education. I want them to go to the best universities. And then they end up getting liberal, open-minded children.
That's right. So my parents blame me. They blame, they say, I went to college. That's how I became a Democrat. They really, that's what they think happened.
Okay. Had it or hit it, TikTok.
Hit it. I like TikTok. Yeah. It's a very effective way to communicate. And the issues that, I think people have with TikTok are not exclusive to TikTok. Like with algorithms and privacy and data, that also applies to Meta. That also applies to X. That applies, to Snapchat and a bunch of different platforms. So if you want to like engage on reforms, let's do it. But I don't think we're a country that bans things. China is a country that bans things. And I also know that a lot of small business owners really benefit, from TikTok. And
we do. We do. Yeah.
And we have this, my 3-year-old, by the way, who would not stay in his crib. And I'm of the mindset that like, I don't mind if he is applying for college and still in the crib. If he's not getting out of the crib, like we're keeping him in the crib.
Absolutely.
And so when he started to have issues where he wanted to climb out, my wife found on TikTok this tent that you like put into the crib. It's clear, kind of looks like an Ebola like chamber. I can still see him, but you like tie it to like the bottom like post of the crib, and we call it Hank's Castle. And so he thinks he's got his own castle, but it may have bought us like another year, and that was found on TikTok. So
I wish I would have known about that.
Yeah, there's a lot of
That's the
parent
worst
hacks.
when they can get out of the bed.
Yeah. I don't want that.
No.
Oh, I remember that. I remember getting downstairs and getting in my bed, and then all of a sudden there was this hand, and I was like, oh,
yeah.
Oh my God, he crawled out.
You
and
lose all
followed
control
me.
at that point.
Yeah. No, toddlers are, I think the very first episode of this podcast we ever did.
Yeah.
The title of it was Toddlers Are Assholes.
Yeah.
And they remain so today. They haven't changed that much.
Okay. Had it or hit it, Mar-a-Lago?
Had it. And by the way, if they want to work remotely from Mar-a-Lago, I would welcome that.
Right.
I think there's just this collective anxiety about, the circus coming back to town and just how obnoxious they are and just like how cruel and cringe they can be. And so that's what I'm just not looking forward to. That's coming back to town. They're just obnoxious.
They're horrible.
Yeah, they're obnoxious. They're very.
Okay, last one.
Yeah.
Had it or hit it, midterm elections 2026.
Yeah, hit it hard because we have a pathway, to winning the midterm elections. And what's so critical right now is that we're purposeful in how we take on, Donald Trump, that we understand what the voters were asking for, and we're seen as the serious ones who are delivering on that. And then most importantly, like who is self-recruiting or being recruited by us. And we'll be able to tell by the end of the summer, like who our candidates are, in these toughest races. And if it looks like 2018, especially where you had, these veterans and national security moms and prosecutors who were running, and we flipped 39 seats, like that was a strong, high caliber class. And so that's what really excites me, is that we do have this opportunity. And also this, you've seen new leadership really step up, with Hakeem as our leader.
Yeah.
With, Jamie Raskin is now the leader of the Judiciary Committee.
Him.
Angie Craig is leading the Agriculture Committee from Minnesota. And then you have like Jasmine Crockett and Maxwell Frost and Jared Moskowitz, Dan Goldman, this new crop of members. Many of them are going to go into the Judiciary Committee. So we'll announce the new members next week. And it's going to be like this murderer's row of talent who are going to hold them accountable.
We desperately need. So from the heartland of America, let me tell you what we need, because there are little blue dots peppered all over the country. And he only won by 1.5 points.
Yeah.
So this was not the mandate that they say it is. We need the optics really desperately. We need to see you, that Brendan Boyle that we had on, Jasmine, AOC, Dan Goldman, any firecracker in there that you can bring. We need the optics of all of you saying, we're here, we're the rebellion, we're going to work with them where we can, but we are not, you are going to be safe, we are on this. Because everybody, like there is this, we're all going on living our lives, but there's this dark passenger with us all the time. It's like, shit, how fucked are we?
Yeah. Right.
No, and we can get through this. But I hope the message that my colleagues have received from this past election is just be real.
Yes.
Like just be yourself.
Yes.
And be plain spoken. And don't, as I said, don't approach this as like the Harvard Law School moot court competition. Just talk to somebody like you're talking to them at a bar or a bus stop. Like just be real. And I think that'll get us far. And you talked about earlier women voting against their interests, or, poor Americans who would go for Trump and he's only going to benefit the billionaires. I think so much of this is a personality contest. And it's do I like you and do I trust you? And do I like you is very much like, do you get me? Do you look at me and know what I care about? And so, we've got 2 years to do that, but I feel good about who's coming in, the names you just put out there, and I'll go into the foxhole with them. Yeah.
Let them know that I've Had It podcast is always a place, because I think you guys have got to flood the zone. I think you've got to do podcasts. I think you have to, just like this, just get on here, maybe through an F-bomb. Who cares? The president's a convicted felon that screws porn stars. Who cares? So get out there, and I think y'all need to flood the zone like they've done, and we're going to help do our part, because basically we're all boiling it down to, are you pro-democracy?
Right.
That's right.
Okay, Congressman Swalwell.
Jennifer, pumps. Thank you. It's an honor.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks for coming.
My pleasure.
It's great having you in person, too.
Tell you what I've had it with. Let's hear it. I've had it with that.
Listen up, patriots, gaytriots, and natriots. We have a new podcast that has dropped. It's called iHip News. It's Monday through Friday, every day, 15 to 20-minute hot takes on the political landscape of the United States of America, always served with a side of petty grievances.
We are on all the available platforms, Apple, Spotify, Google, whatever you get your podcasts, and YouTube.
Please go rate, subscribe, and review so that we will chart upwards with America's greatest legal mind. Pumps, what does an eagle say?
Caw-caw.
A little bit more enthusiasm.
Caw-caw!
That's it. That's
Caw-caw!
That's the patriotism that this country needs right there.